And good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Well, probably good evening to just about anybody who's out there with us for the final race of the day in the Zwift Racing League. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of the WTRL Zwift Racing League. We are out on RGV for the final race for the TTT of the week number 2 of season number 2 in the Zwift Racing League. Revo scores have just jumped out onto the course for the America's West Women's A, and we will be jumping in with the men's A. We'll be covering across all the categories as well, B, C, D, as well as A, B, C, D, as they exist across all those categories there. Dave, lots of racing out there today, and some pretty crazy fast times. Interesting to see who's able to be challenging up against the Premier League that you were able to cover with Matt and Hannah yesterday as well. We're missing a microphone, I think, from you there, Dave. I think.
Sorry there, Nathan. These times here have been in the low 30s, and we've seen some community times that have been right up against that. So this course is awesome. By the time you get to this point in the day, we've seen almost 9,000 racers. 1,900 teams will contest this team time trial. The RGV course, Route Grand Vitesse, where we're racing today, this 25-kilometer course might be the best team time trial course that we have on Zwift, to tell you the truth. I think this one, if I was going to host next year's World Championships, I would be heading to RGV. Brings out the very best. One of the ways that you can tell how close the top teams are to each other. From Premier League, just about every community race that we've seen, the top 3 teams, Nathan, have oftentimes been within 10 seconds of each other. That's as close as it gets out here in WTRL racing. This is the ZRL format. We're into week 2 of season 2. And I have to say, all the tweaks that have been made with points in the scratch racing, a couple less team time, or one less team time trial, but that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you did point out there is the number of racers. If you are participating, you're watching and participating in this, to think that you are a part of one of the largest weekly racing leagues in the entire world, actually, from a physical sports aspect. I'm not positive. I'd have to look up some of the data on esports and how many participants there are in leagues across the globe. But I have a feeling, as far as physical sports meets esports, this is a one of a kind. But even amongst regular sports, I think this is most likely worldwide one of the largest things you could possibly be participating in. And I know for sure that world records have been set with WTRL, actually, with the team time trial. So you're a part of something that's making history, that's for sure. So pretty awesome to see what these riders are all participating in. I think it's pretty, I don't know, kind of makes you step back and go, wow, a little bit. You know, I think we get so used to it on a day in and day out basis with all the participation that we don't know how big of a thing that we're actually a part of here until you hear those numbers and think that this is happening on a weekly basis. But ladies out on course, we're going to jump in with Gillick here. And the men will be starting in 8 minutes. We do have Revo Scores, one of the top teams here, jumping in with ATP trying to chase them down, as well as Velocity Vixen. Those are going to be the top 3 teams here in the A's for the America's West.
Yeah, Alicia Stats, Anna Rogers, and Christine Culver also making up this really talented team. This comes in as one of the top squads in the sport right now, no doubt about it, looking at Revo Scores. Nathan, to give some perspective on what you were talking about, some of the events that people always perceive as the largest, New York City Marathon or Boston Marathon, typically those events are 25,000 athletes. Look at it as a unique athlete start. By the time we go through 2 or make it 3 weeks of WTRL's ZRL racing, we surpass those numbers. That's something to think about there. It's absolutely incredible. So this course, again, really flat and fast. It lives up to that name, Route Grand Vitesse, meaning the high-speed road. Well, you're going to see these teams keeping it. A strong team like Revo Scores will keep it over 40 kilometers per hour for just about the entire duration here. You'd expect to see them finish well under 35 minutes today. And ultimately, the Aqueduct, which in previous broadcasts we've talked about the Pont du Gard, as it is known, the only three-story antique bridge that's still standing anywhere in the world. In the previous broadcast, Nathan, I was saying it took 1,000 men or 1,000 people 5 years of working every day, all day long to build what we're going to be seeing here. It's quite a feature on this course. And again, it's hardly a climb, but it's a little pimple that they get over along the way. 133 meters of climbing throughout the nearly 25K of racing. Talk a lot about the techniques used out here. Revo Scores is a team that will be well drilled at the discipline of team time trialing. Bit of a blob right now. No problem. Keeping the speed high. Again, you can see they're well over 40K per hour.
As we take a look here, it is going to be Velocity Vixen that are at the top there of this. Revo Scores jumping in. Looks like they skipped last week, so ATP Racing Swarm and Velocity Vixen getting a jump on them. But Revo Scores, I think, the kind of team that may be able to quickly move their way back up the ranks, as they are a very, very strong team. Now, if we take a quick look here at the rest of the categories in the B's, there's going to be Audi Women, followed up by Cryogen Mount Evans, then Cadence, Wadi Inc., Ice Cat, and then Penn Velo WB as your top five in the B category. In the C category, then for the women in the West, Revo Musketeers, Herd of Meerkats, KRTC Lightning Strikes, Herd of Meerkats 2, Fearlets, BRT Power Kittens. We're going to check if there's a D, and there is no D category here. So those are going to be the teams we're going to be watching here across the categories here for each one of the time splits that we'll be bringing in. It is 4.7K in total so far. If we do bring in the splits here, we will be able to see that this is the men's America's West. Those are the times that are going to be coming in for them in just a few minutes here. And then for the splits, we do have, sorry about that, we do have, as you can see here, 6K, 12K, and 18K as the ones who have started out on course with 5. That is the Riva Scores we have on screen for us here. ATP Racing Swarm with 6 out on course, and Velocity Vixen with 6 as well. You can see the total Ks left to go at 21.9, 22.5, and 23.2. And you can also see them in the riders nearby list on the right-hand side of the screen with Jay at the front here. Culver now taking over. Brault actually now pulling at a solid 1.6. Now backing off, as it is going to be the next rider through at about 3.5 watts per kilogram for Soli now. ATP on the chase. There was a 1 minute gap, so it looks like they're about 10 seconds back. We'll start to see those splits come in after that 6K mark in just a moment. This is going to be Velocity Vixen then with Gill on the front, pulling 156, 157. Not too much, I don't think, bother for this rider at this point. She gets into her first little bit of a rhythm.
Yeah, they're moving okay right now, 43 kilometers per hour. This it's going to be a very competitive race out here. Expect this one to be close. Haley Gill, one of the riders that we're looking at here, Jennifer Girth, Lori Brault, Morgan Cabot, Joni Karen, and Christine Brynjolfsson. A couple of Revo riders I'm throwing in there. Morgan, Lori, Jennifer, and Haley we certainly have here. It's Alicia Stats there as well that I just saw. So working our way through all of the teams. This is, again, Velocity Vixen here, the team orange and purple, very recognizable, the all-Canadian squad.
In the front end, it is going to be Rogers now taking over at 4.8 watts per kilogram, as you can see. A little bit of a blobbing up here. I wonder if they do have a DS on board here today, it is interesting is whether or not there is some confusion about who's going to be taking over at this point. Now we do see a little bit of a kick up in the 3.9 watts per kilogram, but with kind of if you look on the right-hand side, you see the consistent, just about the same watts per kilogram between each of the ladies there. So it does look like there may have been a little confusion as to whose turn it was. A lot of times at the front end of the pack, whenever I'm like, all right, well, who's taking over? You end up with that. For us in our TTT, when I'm a part of a TTT, it's over 5 is what we're aiming for, even into 6. And a lot of times it'll be like, well, when nobody knows, it just drops to 4.5. It drops to right underneath what the expectation is. And you kind of can tell everyone's just confused because you're like, well, who's going to, and you're losing time and speed at that point.
Absolutely. I've heard a couple of riders praising their directors saying, I love it. I get on the bike, I make the watts, I don't have to think. And that is absolutely night and day for athletes. Like you said, Nathan, when you're second guessing who's taking the next pull, all of a sudden You watch those numbers drop, the speed starts to fade a little bit, and every time you do that, those are the matches that you burn in a team time trial is the re-accelerations. It's even harder to do it's hard to do when it's just you in an individual time trial, when you're falling behind your pace and you pick up the pace again and do that too many times and the elastic breaks. Well, same, it's even worse with a team time trial squad because you never know who's in the pain cave at any given moment. So getting a look at the Velocity Vixen, who are they're rolling now. And it was almost like, Nathan, while you were talking about that, that the directions came through because you could see them snap into order. And then a little bit of, I'm not going to say confusion, but the team, a good way to put it is finding their rhythm out here. And the teams that have experience, we've talked about the WTRL on Thursdays, is going to be hitting 100 consecutive weeks of racing in just another couple months here. It's been an amazing run to think about. It was only less than 2 years ago that they started with 8 teams showing up on a start line to at this point on any given Thursday, there's more than 5,000 riders and a couple thousand teams. Barbara Fazoli, the ATP rider that we're looking at now, Fazoli has been a winner in the Zwift Racing League already. She had a nice standout win in one of our scratch races. If you're new to the ZRL, we're into season 2. This is the second week. We started with a scratch race in Richmond, Virginia, on the World's Course there last week, and we are back at it. Last week was a good indicator for how competitive this division is going to be with ATP, Revo, and the Vixen ladies. But Fazoli, a standout rider here, certainly a good one to watch as they make their way into the first of 8 of 25 kilometers of racing here out on RGV tonight.
Velocity Vixen walking away with this one so far. 6 kilometer point, 9:06, 9:24 ATP Racing Storm, who we're looking at right now. Connolly now maybe seeing that time, getting a little bit of a motivation to pull through toward the front, up into that 4 watts per kilogram momentarily. I'm looking at Fazoli's recent results, though. You were just speaking about, she recently took a win on the 3R Alp, the Zwift KOM race, actually, at a solid 3.5 watts per kilogram for 20 minutes, actually. So, very solid results recently for her in. Also, the Zwift Racing League last week took a 10th place, actually, for the ATP Racing squad. Now, another pull through from Hines. They keep on getting these little bit of gaps, though, and that may not be helping the second rider. I mean, you definitely want to pull through, but not quite gap the rest of the pack there. They need to be coming through with some speed, but I think they're getting motivated to say, hey, come on, we can see these times, and we need to get a move on.
Yeah, smooth watts. We are talking about that. The exchange there from the rider who is on the front to the next rider, it's got to be seamless, and it's much more challenging than you would think. But the second rider in line is, quite honestly, they're starting their pull just before the rider on the front is finishing, and that's how you do it. Nice job right there for Hines being able to slot right back on. That's the danger moment there when you come off the front. Nathan, I am confused. I have to admit, I have not had a banner day on with the data, but I'm seeing Alicia Stats on Zwift Power as a Revo rider, but she's Velocity Vixen out here today, correct? Or am I
Let's
missing
take a
something?
quick look here for
I'm
Alicia
very
Stats.
confused.
And I am
Alicia
seeing
Stats is
Alicia
out of
Stats
Seattle.
on here for Revo on the Zwift Power. I
But
agree
she's
with
with
that.
Velocity Vixen, I would swear. So if we
Most
go
definitely
back
riding
and look at
along with Velocity Vixen right now, too. Yeah, that is a great point here. Anna Rogers, it looks like, hanging out there as well. Christine Culver at the front with Revo. I'm going to take a quick look.
did
Let's
they
go ahead and
merge?
go
Did
back and
they
take a look.
change?
I'll go ahead and get back over there and take a look and see what's going on.
Thank you. I'm wondering if maybe it's a tagging issue. A lot of riders have been changing teams, etc. So sorry to throw that conundrum at
No, I
you,
just
but I
got I
just
just got word that they merged. It's a merger
okay.
that ended up
That's
happening
it.
there.
So
Just for the
Rogers is
ZR,
also
only for the ZRL. So there is a merger
gotcha.
happening with Revo and Vixen in order to get the numbers across. And so yes, there is riders from
Good
Revo riding
call.
for Vixen, and then there are riders. It looks like also for Vixen riding for Revo. So they do have in game though for the correct places.
It's funny, Nathan, when I started with you 6 months ago, that wouldn't have made any sense to me at all. Now I completely get it. So I feel like I've come a long way.
Well,
You know what?
I'm catching up still as well though. So on that front, I'm catching up still as well on that front here. 9:35 currently for Penn Velo WB. Wadi Inc. Ice Cat comes in with a 9:30, but just now Mount Evans Cryogen with a 9:18. Audi women holding strong there with that 9:24. We're looking at
You know,
Penn Velo right now with Carstay out of the US of A. They're currently in fourth, a 5 second gap only to Wadi Inc., who they're chasing. So they do have the rabbit in front of them that does have the better by 5 seconds. And so that is nice with four riders there, a little bit of motivation ahead of them to chase that down with Carstay here at 2.5 watts per kilogram currently in this B category currently that we are looking at America's West Division 1B. The battle is out here. I think BRT Doom Kittens no shows today, so it will only be those with the green next to them. Penn Velo only showing up with four actually. So it'll be interesting to see with six riders in Audi, Wadi, Cadence, and then five in Cryogen Mount Evans. But even with five, Mount Evans here seeming to be the strongest team on the day so far.
you're going to start with four, Nathan. To pace off of a team with six is really helpful. It definitely can motivate the four, as they're obviously going to be sharing a little more workload each out here. Penn Velo, fantastic program out of Northern California. Uh, Very, very impressed with what they're doing on the men's and the women's side of things out here. Cryogen Mount Evans with that 9:18, that comparable with the A women out here today. Audi women with 9:25. Very, very close. Just 5 seconds back to Wadi Inc., then Penn Velo, just 5 more seconds back. So we got ourselves a bike race here to wrap up week two. 10.5K in now. Here's the slick looking Wadi Inc. team. I
Yeah,
like
this
their
is
style.
going to be Kathy Martinson from the Wadi Inc. team, currently riding in amongst a B category team, but is C category. So this is a bump up for Kathy. Good to see her jumping in and amongst the Bs here to round this team out. That's a brave move and a good
For
move
her.
there. I think, when a team says, "Wait, we need a person," oh, well, I'm almost to be, I'll push it. And really going to get pushed the limits, get an amazing workout most likely out here today. We also have Stephanie Shu here amongst this crowd, level 43 Zwifter. Recently it looks like she's taken on the Tour de Zwift as well. She's done stage 1, 2, and 3, which is cool to see. And is out there running in the Tour de Zwift. So I believe it's going to be a triathlete. I would be surprised if she's running out on Zwift, most likely. They did a Tour de Boudica
Odds
as
are
well
good.
with some solid placings. It looks like in the Tour de Boudica this past weekend. So definitely a very committed Zwifter at level 43. Has plenty of miles in on game.
Kazui Kashima is the Japanese rider on this team. I love seeing that. They have a Swedish rider as well, Karen Peters. Now, a lot of times, Nathan, you'll see that Swedes or Japanese, well, they are living in, I think of Kai Takashita, a good example of a Japanese rider, that she lives in the United States, but carries a Japanese passport, is Japanese by nationality. Britt Kogan, you mentioned Kathy Martinson. This is a strong team. They've got a bright future ahead of them. I was laughing last week. We had some compliments that were thrown out to Alicia Stats of the racing in the A race there. We were just talking about the Revo rider that's racing for Velocity Vixens, and we were talking about her having a bright future. Well, Nathan, she said that her teenage son and daughter, it might have been daughter, her teenagers, 15 years old, were watching her race, and they all got a good laugh about mom having a bright future. And I had to laugh as our colleague Kate Bates chimed in, leave it to teenagers, right? Because Alicia Stats does have a bright future. She's in line with a lot of the Seattle greats. We have a real scene of Zwifters, whether it's so Kristen Kolchinski and V Win have been going back and forth as the number one ranked rider on Zwift Power. V is a Vietnamese rider. That's a good example, right, Nathan? V, if you look at her, you'll see the Vietnamese flag. She is Vietnamese, but she has been in the United States for quite a while and lives in Seattle now. So there's a whole scene there that you see. They don't always race on the same team, but the insured squad is where you'll find a lot of them. Laura Matson Co. as well, seventh place at the World Championships just a little over a month ago. Here's a rider fighting,
That's
CryoGen
a
rider.
that's a really great point that you bring out there. But I didn't think of that actually with the Seattle base for V and Kristen Kolchinsky on the East Coast. It's West Coast versus East Coast actually.
Yeah,
That's
like
playing out
Tupac
there.
yeah, right.
It's so
Biggie, yeah,
the Biggie New York crew there taking
yeah.
on the West Coast North Pacific crew.
Luckily,
Not so much SoCal, but with the Tupac situation happening. But that's and I what's funny is the personalities there behind it as well have a little bit. I
could
mean,
not be.
V's got this little bit of punky like thing going on, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you've got Kristen the Jeweler, hanging
Kind of
out
a
there on
high
the East Coast.
society.
Yeah,
I call it high
that's the
society.
total
Yeah,
East Coast West Coast battle going down there for that top spot. But
and
Jacqueline
you know
here
what I
now.
love, Nathan?
Yeah.
So those two, right, really different people. But I've heard through the grapevine that they have struck up a friendship, right, through this whole thing. So it's incredibly competitive. I mean, these women are fierce, but they also have a tremendous amount of respect. And that is maybe the best takeaway from Zwift community is sure, you're going to see your cat fights every now and then going on between riders, but in general, they get along incredibly well and are very, very supportive of each other's accomplishments. And I'd like to see it stay that way for sure, because that's something you can hang your hat on. Not all high level sports have a feel good element to them. Well, it doesn't feel good to be chasing down your teammates right now, but closing down that gap, a good job being done here as this is going to be Gerber fighting back into. We're looking at the bees out here now, right at the midpoint. They've just gone by. And Nathan, what's important now is to get in this slipstream and get settled. And there you go. And find your rhythm because the aqueduct is coming up pretty quickly here, just a couple Ks away. And you don't want to go through this again, to be honest. Once is enough.
Yeah, and interesting enough to see what's playing out on screen for us right now is Cryogen Mount Evans with that 918. It's not a huge gap back to Wadi Inc. or Penn Velo, and they've already dropped one of their riders, Jacqueline Lee. And so with Gerber falling off the back a little bit there just a moment ago, they may have gone out really hot and now have perhaps shot themselves in the foot just a little bit here with losing riders early, only having 4 left. They started with 5. Wadi Inc. has 6 still intact. Penn Velo coming through only 10 seconds behind, maybe staying more organized. So
Point.
Cryogen, they might have came through Mount Evans volcano style here, boom, and not really though being able to follow through. We'll see if they can create more of a slow burn, or is this just going to be pop and then out the back here with those times? We'll see if Cryogen can hang on.
I will give you a lot of credit. That's an astute call right there, Nathan. I would say, yeah. And so, again, going back to Nathan's point here, this is not what you're looking for right now because important to note the time taken off of the 4th rider's wheel. And you can see that rider now is being gapped by, I mean, this has turned into 3 different groups now. And that's never what you want to be talking about in a team time trial. That's a conversation you should be avoiding for the duration of the race. So you can see now that Pop here is going to just back off a little bit. It flattens out here. So once you get onto the aqueduct itself, this is the aqueduct I was talking about, 1,000 people, 5 years of work to build the only 3-story aqueduct that's still standing anywhere on planet Earth. This is real, what they're riding over right now. So this is where we need to regroup, hit the reset button, and move into the second half of this race because we can't continue like this. Well, I guess we can, but we're not doing it right at that point.
Yeah, Poppy here now, backing off to 2.9. They did have that 8-second gap over Audi women and
They won't anymore.
18-second gap, but that's going to get eaten up really quickly unless we have as much disorganization up ahead. We're not looking at the other teams at the moment, but I'm getting the feeling if we look at Wadi Inc., look at how organized this is and the numbers that are still here amongst this team. I think they're on the hunt to to try and take down Audi women as well. I'm going to try and see where things are at with the Audi women's team if they're just as organized because they still have sixth intact. Looks like we're
And
maybe
this is
down
the
to
beast.
five here though when it comes
Yeah,
to.
either way, Nathan, you're right. It is 5 now, but this team is on the gas here. I mean, they've been hovering right around 40 kilometers per hour on this flat sector, and they're picking up the speed. But unfortunately, it's gapping the team. So you can only apply so much pressure before you snap the branch. And Penvelo now. We're in with the red and white here. This is going to be really, really interesting. You can see, can't you, the challenge that the teams are up. And another good point here, Nathan, is on this RGV course, riders can hold on for grim death, but when you hit the bottom of the aqueduct, that's where your body might be writing a check it can't cash. And riders come out of the group, and then it's bedlam out there for a team.
We're going to see if we can find the Audi women out on course. Ashley Hudson's going to help us out here, it looks like, and give us an idea of where things stand. They were one of the last ones to start with 11.7 to go. Does look like they've pulled back a little bit of time on the Cryogen team. Now I'm being told that Cryogen may be having a little bit of connection
Dropouts,
issues.
huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting to
that's what I'm
see. So
hearing too.
maybe that's what's going on. That the power is there, the ability is there, but having some technical
That
issues. Now, if they're that strong of a team,
makes
though, they
sense.
could very quickly come back from that. It might not be lights out just yet.
Yeah, and good point. Thank you for that information, foot traffic endurance sport coaching, because that's, I think, pretty likely to tell you the truth, because a team that strong just doesn't come apart like that. So looking at these 12K checks, it's Cryogen Mount Evans still the quickest with that 18:10. But that really does explain a lot of what we were looking at. Audi women with an 18:18, 10 seconds behind them is Wadi Inc. Ice Cat at an 18:28. Look at how evenly this is split up here. Now, it's another 10 seconds back to Penvelo. Then you've got Cadence at a 22:18. We are back in with Audi W.
Yeah, I think we're going to see if we
Another
can
in
jump around a
real life.
little bit here and head on over to the C category. And then the men are out on course. They're just starting to get some of their times in. Bria Fallon, Selena Faulkner, we got Claire Babcock out there as well in that C category that are one of the first ones to go out. They're riding for the herd. And we'll see if we can jump on in with them and start getting some of the times that they are setting out on course as we do jump in with Claire Babcock. This is going to be the Meerkats in the herd kit that we've seen a lot out there today. Just ahead of them is going to be the KRT team in that old school kit as we look at Breck. Katie Levi out on course and Trano. Now, this is a team that I'm excited to see as well, as these are very long time Zwifters, part of this KISS racing team, long time viewers and followers of the broadcast as well. So good to see Trano, Breck, as well as Mazden and Katie Levi. Levi, big part of the Zwift community and a huge encourager out there. Zwift community. If you haven't got, almost everyone I think that lives in the world of Zwift was part of their life and their exercise life has gotten a ride on from Katie. So show some support out there. She hammers away at 3.1 watts per kilogram right now.
Yeah, this team qualifies as a legendary squad, no doubt about it. They've really participated in building this community from the ground up, no doubt about it. As the KRT team, so AJ Brecke, Holly Krenz, Julie Rolls, you're mentioning Katie, Kelsey Trinell, and you mentioned Kristen Mosden as well. That's Kristen that we're looking at right here. The 4 riders left from KRT. The Revo Musketeers with that 19:29. That's going to be the fast time at 12K. So in the middle of the race there, this check coming in, it's going to be Herd of Meerkats sitting in second. KRT, the team that we're with right now, the Lightning Strikes at 19:40, sitting in third.
Yeah, and Breck, I think one of the newer members here of this KRT team, maybe invited in by some of the members that are here. So Mosden, definitely Hammerway 2.9. But yeah, looking at AJ Breck out of Canada, level 29 Zwifter. I think that maybe one of the newer riders here, though, is I know Kelsey Trinell as well as Katie Levi. Both of them going to be, I believe, level. I'd be surprised if not level 50. Yeah, level 50 there from Kelsey Trunell. And very, very long time Zwifter. She's got 5 pages of results you can go through all the way back to 2016 in the EVR Europe race that she was a
That's
part of.
OG. Yeah,
Way,
you're
way OG,
original.
and one of the top
OC.
races. The EVR was a very competitive race. Actually, it was a part of the broadcast schedule for quite a while. So cool to see that she's still hammering away. Levi always with the rabbit profile, and 2.6 here. I believe that's one of her pets at home. I'm not incorrect. That's a part of her Zwift Power profile, and Katie with the level 50 as well. And it does look like she took place in the Tour de Boudica for KRT over the weekend and has been doing the Tour de Zwift stages 3, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. So lots of riding here in the last couple of weeks. But you can go back as well with her all the way back 7 pages of results, all the way back to 2017, actually. So Katie, a huge part of the community for a long time.
And OZer, original Zwifter. That's for sure. Nice to see the Aeonian team presenting that Boudica tour this last weekend. That's what you call, talk about community. Well, there's a good example of putting on a stage race requires a tremendous amount of work to organize that. And they added some wrinkles and created some very exciting racing. They challenged themselves with the organization even. I love seeing that. Let's see what we've got here now as we're getting into the meat and potatoes of this race. The
It's
finale not far off.
going to be the Meerkats we're looking at with the herd. Carol, it looks like at the back end of the pack here right now, at 170 beats per minute, looking to get a little bit of recovery. Babcock on the front. Now, Camp now pulling on through, though. Wow, 7 watts per kilogram real quickly there to give that little bit of a bump, some extra speed, carrying it on through at 36 kilometers
See,
per hour currently.
it's a teachable moment there. You see how she did that without blowing up the team? That's a micro surge. And that was perfect there. Just bumping it up a half a K per hour without putting the team in trouble. Nice work.
Level 20 Zwifter, Lauren.
She's
Already
a fast
after
learner.
jumping in. Lauren Camp here. This is pretty awesome to see. I'm seeing her first Zwift Power profile on 1/2/21 actually at the Herd Beginning Race Series and already into the
Freshly
C
minted
category
Zwift Power, huh?
and number 2 on the
I,
leaderboard right now, 1938 on the time and doing a TTT of all things. Pretty awesome to see. I want to know if she's got a
very
gaming,
cool.
like, does she got a gaming background as well? Because this is pretty awesome to see her able to jump in amongst the pixels and really lay the watts down, but also be able to ride this pack so well.
Yeah, that's the complete package. I was loving GP Llamas during the Zwiftcast, the most recent one. The comments about watching Zwifters being born out there on course. And there's something really, really cool about watching someone embrace this. And some folks happen to be tremendously talented. And I would say that was what we were just witnessing here. As this is the Meerkats now taking a look at these splits. They're sitting in, well, let's just hold off. They have the second fastest time at check 2. Let's see where they slot in at check 3 because they're on a good run right now.
Yeah, Meerkats 2 actually coming in behind Meerkats 1, even though they had the better seating, which is interesting to see. So we are looking at Meerkats 2 here with Morahan, and then it's going to be Tully, J. Oh, and then see Faulkner. They're all together as they come through their 18K marker. They come up at 21:01, so a good amount of time to make up. I do think that KRTC Lightning Strikes are just a little bit out of contention, or a little bit out of their striking distance here. But Herd of Meerkats, Revo Musketeers, and KRTC, they are definitely all in the hunt for the win out here today. It's anybody's game here at this point still.
I think that's KRT right behind the Meerkats here. Or maybe not. That's KRT that we're looking at. So behind the Meerkats was a team. Maybe it's Revo then that is trying to pace. There we go.
Yeah,
Who
Revo
is
are
that,
coming on
Nathan?
through. That is going to be
That is
Revo
Revo.
Musketeers, and they were the last ones to start. So the best seeded on
They're making a
the
catch.
yeah, with the 8.1 to go. So you can see 8 to go with the Mirrored Cats and the 8.1 next to the little green there. Mirrored Cats there with 5 riders left. Revo with 6, and Revo flying now right on through. I'm going to see if we can get Revo into view here, as I'm not having them in the riders nearby list. We'll see if we can get that to load up for us in just a moment.
All right. Well, here we go. Moving into the finale, we're starting to get some interesting times to look at. It is deadlocked at 29:16 at the 18K checkpoint. Got ourselves a Donnybrook going on in France, whatever the French equivalent of a Donnybrook would be, as Revo Musketeers and Herd of Meerkats are going to be locking horns here with KRT Lightning Strikes at 29:38. They're not that far back, but it looks like it's two teams that are going to be battling for the points here. Top team will be awarded 20 points, 19 for second, 18 for third. I'm sure that you're picking up on the pattern here as we have 8 races this season. This is race number 2. We're going to see how things change when this one is done and dusted. We're in with Beverly Cheney here on the Revo team. These are our C's. Bev is a legend, a bike industry legend who I believe still lives in Bend, Oregon. She is British by nationality, but has been in the United States for quite a while and has been responsible for getting a lot of people out on bikes and happy getting healthy. Nice to see her out racing.
I wonder if she's a guest actually here today, as she does have SJBC next to the name as an official team
So
tag.
San Jose Bicycle Club, which would make sense. So San Jose Bicycle Club is the club behind the Hellier Velodrome, and a lot of folks associate with them. The only velodrome in Northern California. America just
True.
does not have many velodromes, that's for sure. Someone was asking the other day, I saw in a chat group, why isn't there a velodrome on Zwift? And I was thinking to myself, boy, it's already a conga line when you're on a 22-mile loop. Can you imagine what it would be like riding with 1,000 riders on a 333-meter track?
And you
I don't
hit the
think you'd
nail
get
on the
much
head
elbow room.
there, Dave. I mean, knowing all the history here, because it started in 1939, and now this is going to be who Cheney's riding for officially. The Revos who we're looking at, so she's guest riding here with the San Jose Bicycle Club. Most definitely what they're talking about here. A lot of history actually written up on Zwift Power actually about that club. So definitely go check that out if you
Oh,
want more
interesting.
information on all of that. We're not going to go all into that because this is the team she's currently riding for is going to be Revo in the
Come
results
to
out
my
there
TED
today.
Talk. I'll be
It's
doing a
definitely
TED Talk later.
it's a TED talk for sure. There's like a couple paragraphs there with some serious history that I think you're going to have all kinds of knowledge that you could just throw down. I think Dave on every talking point that is in that paragraph, which is pretty awesome. We'll leave that for maybe a podcast. Revo is a whole nother story though, and Revolution Velo Racing. You can go check them out as well over on Facebook, over on Revo fans. So they're hammering away, and they are battling for this first place spot right now at a 29-16 against the Meerkats. So it's Herd versus Revo versus KRT, but KRT have slipped out of contention, it looks like a little bit. A lot to make up for KRT if they want to stay involved for the top spot. I think a podium, though, has been solidified at this point, unless any kind of mishaps go down.
Want to give a shout out to the other ladies on the team. I love, Nathan, that you've been able to get in and cover other races besides just the A's. This is Heidi Erickson of the Revo team. The Canadian on that squad is Katie Slater. We also have Gail Kocher, Cola White Dog, Maggie Coates, and the aforementioned Beverly Cheney. So good work out there, ladies. Great having you racing with us. As it looks like we're going to go to split screen here.
Yeah, the men 19.5 kilometers in. Definitely want to jump on in here. We have covered most of I think we've covered actually every single team in the women's side of things so far in this West. So let's go ahead and jump on over. Sorry about that. We'll go back on over to split screen and jump on over toward the men, give an idea of where things stand in the A category, and then we'll head on over to the B's and the C's as quickly as we possibly can. We'll also get the results as they do play out for the women's side of things, maybe get a couple of their finishes. But Tag Cycling flying here at the front. It does look like they were opening up a gap over OTR Rush, as Rush is 117 back from them at this point. So Tag having a good race, the Canadian team here. As we are looking at Duluth, it's going to be see Shelton, Kersey, Elephant, and then Froner. Saw Shelton actually here, excuse me, on OTR trying to chase things down at 5.2 watts per kilogram. But again, it's going to be Tag pulling away at this point from these first two starters. Most likely not going to have the fastest times, but we've had some upsets with some of the lower seeded teams throughout the day having a better TTT than they did in the points race last week on Richmond.
Quite a few, to tell you the truth. Nathan, it's been interesting. Teams have really come out of the woodwork. And again, it speaks to the squads that have done their work on the WTRL Thursdays as well. You know, Nathan, I wanted to give a shout out to a couple of our commenters on YouTube. Will Sherwood and Bowser Bikes have been super positive today with a lot of energy coming out there. So thanks for chiming in, guys. Appreciate your energy. As we're back in with Oliphant right now with 4K to go, and it looks like they're going to say goodbye to a rider. And Nathan, I think that this, well, you never know. Maybe not. Well, no, they're not. This rider's going to fight right back in. I thought maybe the job was done. That was not the case. And for a darn good reason, that rider is where the time will be taken off of. They couldn't say goodbye to Oliphant. You need him. Fourth rider is where you get your time from. So just a little gap opening up with me misreading it.
Yeah, it looks like it is the camera angle there. We'll get that a little bit better with the times there. But yeah, it does look like
Oliphant is struggling a little, Nathan. It's a bummer here just at this point because this is where it's DeLucci that is fighting right now to hold on to the team. It doesn't get rougher than this, folks. My heart goes out to this athlete. And watch how the pink socks here just digging in, scraping the bottom of the wattage barrel right now. As the team isn't really, Nathan, they're flying. They're going to back off just a little bit here as the grade goes up as well. Let's see if that's enough for him to be able to latch.
I saw Kersey. If what Kersey could have done there after he was done with his pull, he could have went to 0. Now see, now they slowed down so much that Lucy just goes to the front. But he's already hurting. Oliphant should have continued on. The best move right there. If I were a DS right there, I would have said, Kersey, you're done with your pull. You go to 0 watts per kilogram. You go all the way to the back, and you let 5 meters extra go. You get the wheel to Lucy, and then you pull him up, and that would have been perfect. But instead, Kersey went to mid pack after he backed off, and they all slowed down together rather than just using that little bit of extra distance that those wheel links could have given. Pull the rider back in. It does look like they kind of ended up doing something like that, but it was Froner that actually went back instead of the rider who was going to 0 watts per kilogram already, which was Kersey. So a little bit of a learning lesson there, I think, for the team.
Yeah. I think, Nathan, that they had getting the gist of it. They just didn't quite execute perfectly, but they're close, and they're going to get it. Are these guys using the sock technique here as well? 4 different pairs of socks to help differentiate? Maybe not quite there.
It's either that or there's a roll of the dice. So it's one of the two, but there are 2 white socks, it looks like. So I don't think so.
Yeah, it kind of defeats my theory there.
I think there's just a little bit of fashion police out on course today is all that is. As Saunders now with OTR and the rest of this group here from on the rivet now. Take some pulls on through. It's going to be on the rivet Rush, that it's currently in 4th place, 23.50. 4 seconds off Dirty Rascals Rampage right now to 23.46. So that's the battle for the podium. Evo Sonic Boom tied, though. So also a 3-way battle going on kind of here for that podium, as they are all within, well, obviously tied there, but also 4 seconds off with that Dirty Rascals Rampage, Evo, and Rush. Now, Hayes, though, kind of walking away with this one. Yeah, completely.
Yeah, almost a minute faster than any other team. This is a standout ride from On the Rivet Hayes here today. As we take a look now, they've only got a couple kilometers left out here as well to hold on. So great job by this squad.
And this is going to be special teams. Is that right? Yeah, special teams. 24, 52, eighth place currently. So a little bit of time to be making up there. Did they start with 5, but they only have 4 left in the team right here. So been a rough ride for them out here today with only 4 left to go to the finish line here, as they do have 4.8 kilometers left. Dirty Rascals Riot are coming through. I'd be watching out for the Riot, and oh my God, they killed Kenny to come on like a freight train out here today. I have a feeling that
I
those
would as
two
well.
teams are going to be contesting that time coming in from Hayes. But Hayes with the 15:17, looking through, they were actually up on Dirty Rascal Riot, which is not the usual. So I think Hayes are bringing their A game here today.
They're having their day, no doubt. But I mean, you make a good point. Riot and oh my God, they killed Kenny are two exceptional teams, and they're going to be pushing hard, not out of the conversation here. And there they go. The splits are in. So Riot will come in at, let's call it 10 seconds back, a little under that. Oh my God, they killed Kenny, or like 23 seconds back. That might be a bit much to make up at this point on the Rivet Hayes. Dirty Rascals Riot, they got a better shot at it, but they're going to need to find another level here. Looks like Dirty Rascals, have they lost a rider now?
Yeah,
Or
interesting.
was
I'm
that off
trying
the
to get an
front?
idea because we do have a couple. Do we have a couple? We have Dirty Rascals Rampage and we have Dirty Rascals Riot. And so I'm going to try and get an idea of which one of the teams that we're looking at here. I do believe this is going to be Riot with McLeod, Flanagan, Morrison, all making their way to the line here. 59 kilometers per hour. They are absolutely flying. One thing about the Dirty Rascals that I know from personal experience is they're like a freight train. They continue to just heat up as they go and chug along, and they kind
Yeah,
of like build
like
speed to
that
the end.
that
They do
diesel
not
engine,
overcook.
right?
Yeah, they usually do
Right.
not overcook up front, and they usually make up time on the back end of their race. So watch out for these riders. They really do have a final kick to the line. Whereas I think Hayes sometimes, from my own experience racing with them as a guest, we do tend to overcook it often. So you have to watch out for that. We'll see how it ends up playing out here with Riot, as a lot of times Riot do end up bringing the Riot to the table at the end of the race.
You know, the way I'd put it, Nathan, is on the Rivet Hayes likes to swing for the fences. They like to hit the big home runs, where Dirty Rascals Riot, they like to grind it out, right? They like to show up at the end of the race and be there and take the win. There's different ways to get to the top of the podium, different paths, and you never know which one was the correct one. That's for sure. But we got ourselves quite a bike race with a negligible 9-second advantage there for on the Rivet Hayes. This is anybody's bike race here in the America's West. Amen. It's the story of the day, Nathan. I don't know that we've really had but a couple categories of the dozens that we've raced that have seen a race decided by more than 10 seconds. It's been that kind of day. Awesome, awesome racing. This is your finale now. The last 100 meters as you come around this hard right-hand turn, you'll see the finish truss. This one will be done and dusted for the Dirts and McLeod here in just a moment.
Moving
Back
our way
in with
backwards
Yuckle.
here. I have a feeling we were looking at the Rampage there, perhaps, as we move our way backwards. As I'm looking at Evo and a few others. The reality of the Rascals Riot, I think, starting later and with so much time, you can see the 6.9 watts or 6.9 kilometers to go mark there for them still. So I have a feeling that Riot most likely still pretty far back out on course. If we look at Stampede coming on in here, and that's going to be there's so many dirt teams here. Stampede with a 24:07 currently sitting in that 9th place overall. Going to keep on moving backwards though, as we do get the Audi team. I think Audi not involved at a top 10 currently on course. Keep on moving back. It's going to be Evo. A little bit of a fall apart here from Evo, it looks like, as we've got Mash, Humphreys, and then Anderson. Heinlein there from, oh my God, they killed Kenny. This is one of the top teams.
Wow.
In 3rd place, currently 23:17, trying to chase down Dirty Rascals Riot,
These guys are
throwing
flying.
through 56 kilometers per hour. Rivet Hayes
This
trying
is
to
like
hold
a
these guys
roller
off.
coaster. Yeah. Wow. They call this sector of the course the intestine, and you can see why. That's a great shot up there in the top right-hand part of your corners. You can see how twisty it is on the way to the finish line here. Yeah, you really do feel like you're just in the groove right now as your team is rocket ship on rails would be a good way to put it right now, as this is going to be the Dirt Riot team. Again, they were 9 seconds out of the lead at the final check. Have they done enough to find the top step of the podium? The answer will be coming up shortly. Stay tuned as we're into the grand finale now. These guys are down to 1K to go, gentlemen. They've got 5 riders who are champing at the bit right now for Dirt Riot. It's on the Rivet Hayes, the team to beat. We do have some finished. Squads have finished now. So we are down to it. The brass tacks for race 2 of the second season of the ZRL. Barnes taking a monster pull right now.
Yeah, Barnes, he's one of the finishers here for this team. He's always on the front toward the ends of the race. Monster watts from this guy. Always, whenever I see Barnes's name on the right-hand side in the friends list, I'm not feeling like he's a friend, actually, very much at those times as I see them chasing us now. McCormick
right?
now. Yeah, I'm always, I start getting a little bit like antsy, like, boys, we got to pick it up. Now we got 7.3 watts per kilogram on the front here coming in from McCormick. And McCormick knows he can do this because it's a negative 2% gradient now. He knows he can pull through at 7 because he's not going to drop people off. They're in that wheel. They can ramp it up to 50, 54. Are we going to see up in those 58s again here now? Can they ramp it on up? Now he's going to just drop off and say, oh, my job is done, and let Johnson take over as well as Vanderven here now. This is an amazing effort here coming in from the Rascals now. The Riot now to the line. And 55 kilometers per hour coming from them, 183 beats per minute, all in 10 watts per kilogram. Lawrence finishes it out here. Penn Velo and Yedge CX are the next ones to be coming to the line. We'll see what they can pull off, but they're nowhere in sight when it comes to the times. We have to wait for the results here. It was that 18K mark there with only a 9-second gap. What were they able to do there? AVRT there. Oh my God, they killed Kelly. Penn Velo all still out on course, chasing this team, which is Yedge CX out of Canada.
Yeah, the Edmonton Airport code, if I remember correctly, the YEG in full effect. As this
I always am thinking cyclocross. I'm always like, I want to say cyclocross whenever I see that. I'm always like, this is an awesome cyclocrossing team. And then I'm like, oh, it's an airport.
Oh, well,
I see mud. I see mud and ice and like dragging lips. Well, no, you're no like you're the way that your face looks when you race cyclocross or Iceman or any of these like freezing cold mud covered races. It's like there's a certain look that comes along with these. So Yedge CX, I'm thinking of these like hard men is what I'm thinking of, and it's an airport.
Like think of Sean Kelly finishing Paris-Roubaix with the mud drying on his eyes, that kind of thing. Is this going to be felt for Penn Velo coming across
the line? There we go. Tobin hates you. That's the name in Twitch chat. Good to see you, Eugene Chan.
Scary fast. Very good job.
Penn Velo have really put their
So the
there.
Audi W team is out of the Pacific Northwest. If you look, some of the women we were talking about earlier in this broadcast, Laura Matson Coe and V Wynn, have ridden for that team in real life. And I saw V, the #1 ranked rider on Zwift Power, giving a shout out to the team out here. Thank you, V. Isn't it cool that V is watching these races?
Just watching. V Wynn. That's like her nickname, just watching. I think she's got a couple other nicknames that we won't mention. But yeah, I think I think V is always out there supporting, maybe trying to get a little bit of inside info as well sometimes. And
she's the smartest person I've ever met in my life, I think.
She takes this stuff seriously. She's watching everybody because she wants to know what they're doing. How do I get better at this thing? How do I kick everybody's butt?
Is there another second out there? V will find it. That's for sure. Okay, Nathan, I think we're pretty close. Everybody should have finished. Maybe Penn Velo still out there. Well, I'm talking about our A's.
Penn Velo did cross the line. Penn Velo crossed the line. So they are done and dusted. But we are looking at the B category with OTR Zeal Breaker. Wreckers? I'm
That's
going to
a
say
seal
here.
breaker, man. Yeah. So
And
they got 5 here with 200 meters to go, and they are bearing the accelerator down on the floorboard. Good job, Zeal Breakers. So OTR, let's take a look now. Was it the Big Timbers the fastest at the final split? It was. Zeal Breakers were sitting in 4th. They weren't that far out. They're certainly going to be motivated to try to find their way into the top 3, or maybe even a little bit better than that. There's the finish line. Here's the squad. They're going to drive the final nail home as they put paid to 25 kilometers of racing. Next level effort out there, Zeal Breakers. Good job.
amazing job.
Best you
Amazing
can.
job. Speaking of Penn Velo, they're just coming across the line with Bolela. This was a rider that is in the C category, just finishing. Wadi Inc. was chasing them. We're going to go down a little bit more to, I think Johnny Main's going to help us out. He's coming in from the Herd team. He's going to get us back into the C category here in just a moment. We'll see how things are starting to play out in the C category as they finish up their race. Making their way through the intestines here, you do see Johnny Main coming out of Canada. Anderson, Fraser's there as well. Sedgwick, it's going to be leading things out. Anderson now making his way to the front as Main backs off just a little bit. Let's take a look at how things are with these splits as they make their final couple of turns. And that's the D category. Let's go ahead and head over to the C category. There they are. That's Cryogen Grand Colombier. Cryogen, always at the top, it seems like, in any of these categories that they participate in. You can't count that team out.
Yeah, absolutely incredible what Cryogen has done. And here's another example of that. So, herd, which herd would this be? He says to himself here, as there's literally hundreds of herds.
Loving it. So this one, for the record, from what I'm able to put together here, this is going to be Appaloosa. Appaloosa. So
Ah,
herd of
which we
Appaloosa.
have learned are horses, correct? Like Palominos,
I
I
still don't.
believe.
Yeah, yeah.
We're having
Before I
trouble.
get in any kind of trouble at all, because I don't know what bread or bath is, I'm just going to make sure that I say yes
Yeah, it's
to
okay.
whatever you have to say. Whatever you have to say about that. There.
I I don't know if I would advise that for you, to tell you the truth. You might want to just by default disagree with me on some of that stuff. We had a funny broadcast earlier today, I guess. But
It was a
when you
good. We
put
had
in
a great time with it. It was amazing, actually. That was
no
like my
problem on
favorite
my end.
part. That was my
Yeah,
favorite part of that whole broadcast, actually, because it kind of like brought some new energy and motivation and attitude to it all. And it was just like, let's go. Like, here we go. So I had a lot of fun with that one. I'm gonna try
yeah.
and see if we can
That was a-
find the rest of this C category here, but we're jumping around a little bit with all
Hey,
the riders.
on that note, Nathan, over the last week, I have had a lot of riders reaching out on social media, and I appreciate it. And I know you do equal, well, obviously more even than I do, but that's a great way for me to learn. And I think you'd agree for you to learn too. People have been so friendly. It's very enjoyable connecting and learning about your team, or if you have something that you're riding for, we are all ears here. So, I mean, Facebook or Insta or Twitter, however you want to communicate, please do. Don't be shy. It's been a tremendous experience. So I look forward to those communications, actually. It's been very, very nice. So please don't be shy.
This is going to be the second place team currently, and I 100% agree there. Please reach out. Let us know what's going on. We'll do our absolute best to
And,
keep
and
all of the
yeah,
information on board that we can. Take notes and
if I'm
throw shout outs
mispronouncing a
there.
name, let me know. I definitely have thick skin as far as that goes. You know,
You see
I
this right
want to get
here?
it right.
What's happening right now? I think that's going to be Grand Colombier and Z-Sun battling right now, but Z-Sun almost caught them, it looks like. So it looks like Z-Sun really brought things back. Is that? Is that right? Or was Z-Sun caught by Grand Colombier and they're just coming to the line? Maybe that's what's going on here.
I think
That might be
that
my
might
mistake.
be it.
Yeah, I think that's what.
If we ever get Otterson riding for the Herd of Otters team, we'll have closed the circle.
We can just
out
shut it
here.
all down at that
We
point.
can just
I
shut it
mean,
all down. This
we just,
this
I
was a
mean,
complete
we
success.
have done it. We
Yeah,
have absolutely done it. We can all retire, and
we
it's all over.
our work here is done, but we're not there yet. That's for sure.
No, it's gonna be a while before the stars align, and
No, you're right.
that
I
ends
don't
up
want them
happening.
to.
What
Yeah,
he just ends up riding next week for that team just to kind of
that
stick
would be
it to us here.
unbelievable, right?
It
This is
would
the
be
best, though. This community is awesome. Thanks to everybody who's out here racing. We've had a wonderful day. We really have. I'll admit, by the time we get into this point, I mean, Nathan has literally been up for 24 hours at this point, covering races, starting the day with
This is the
Kate
best
and
part
Anna.
when we just get loopy though, and everybody hangs. If you
Yeah,
want to
I
like
admit
really
it.
be a part of Zwift Community Live, this is when you got to
This
tune
is your
in.
time.
This is your
Yeah,
time. This is like
find us
the
now.
real
This is like when
deal.
the guys at the hamburger shop are handing out free hamburgers at the end of the night, right? They gave up. They
Well, it
we're not giving up.
looks like Zwift gave up a little bit on us too here because we can't seem to find anyone any longer. We're just clicking around at this point. So let's go ahead and bring a couple of mugs into the scene here at this point because it doesn't look like anybody else is going to give us any um, images at this point. Browser Bikes, we see you. Craig Martin, we see you as well. He says there's 50 herd teams.
Thanks,
Craig
guys.
Martin, appreciate you, Craig. We're waiting for a couple of results to come on in. We
They've
do
had good
see
energy today,
super
our
good energy.
commenters. Well, so
Martin, waiting on to see if we got all our results ready to go. Waiting on. I
there's
believe
another
we do.
Nathan, while I have a second here, Martin works so incredibly hard
He's been up
behind the
longer than me.
scenes.
Just to say that he's been
Yeah,
up longer than
and
I have.
And I was talking about how smart V Win is. Well, Martin also is an incredible person. He applies himself, has so much passion. And Nathan, much like yourself, when we have our conversations before the shows or after the shows, Martin loves the racing at the end of the day. And I think that that really is a prerequisite to being involved in this because it's so much. There's literally 10,000 people basically that participate in any given week. We try as hard as we can to get it right. You guys have been doing a wonderful job with your tags, and it's all of us, an ecosystem that participates. For this broadcast to be successful, we're relying upon you guys getting your information into Zwift Power correctly. And all of these things rely upon each other. It's a symbiotic relationship. But I know for myself personally, and I think I can speak for my wonderful colleague, Nathan, that Martin does a tremendous amount for us and does it with a lot of grace as well. So I always appreciate people remembering that. Nothing makes me happier than seeing someone like, I'm going to use Alice Lethbridge as an example. When I see Alice Lethbridge giving Martin a pat on the back for the hard work that he's been doing, it makes me feel great. So sorry, Nathan. I just wanted to get that out there while we're
No, it's awesome.
waiting on the
It's
results.
absolutely deserved. 100%. 100% the amount of work going in across the board to make this happen for everybody. And we really hope everybody is absolutely enjoying the races, all the coverage. And that's what we're here for, is the passion that we have for it. Obviously, I'm enjoying it as well. I'm getting ramped up. I'm getting in shape. Hint, hint. So
You're killing it, my
I'm
friend.
getting in shape because
I
I
was
have
so
some passion
impressed.
for it as well. Like a little bit of a look forward. Hopefully, we'll
Are you
see how it
kidding me?
goes. So
Yeah, your passion bucket is overflowing, my friend. We talked about that in some previous broadcasts, but Nathan out racing inspires me. You know, Nathan, I'm even while we're waiting for results here, I have not missed a day on Zwift in 2021. I'm 18 for 18,
woo!
and
There we
I'll be
go.
there tomorrow morning. And
Well,
it makes me
you might be ahead of me because I think I'm taking the night off. Well, I rode into the night though, so I'd get a double whammy. I think because I think I
yeah,
rode till
let's not
after
even try
midnight
that.
last night.
You know what? I'm going to pick my battles, and I'm smart enough to not go up against you on Zwifting in any way. But one thing, I'll be honest, there's certain athletes that I think of I have my phone set so that I can see when certain friends are Zwifting, or if James Lalonde gets on Zwift, I'll be notified. It makes me happy just to know that. Some of our athletes as well. I had to turn you off. I couldn't monitor you.
I couldn't. It was too much.
It was
Dude,
too
quit bugging
much. It
me.
was too
Quit
much.
bugging
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, it was going off all the time, and I was like, "This
there's
is all
there's
right."
there in the women's field. There's some women that I'm like, what the heck?
Kolchinski's that way.
Boom, boom,
If you
boom, boom, boom. Like,
you have to
yeah,
turn
like,
her off. Yeah.
wow.
You know who else
I,
is that way is Laura Matson-Coe. She's a surgeon, a orthopedic surgeon, and she'll Zwift at the craziest time. She'll squeeze in an hour wherever she can, and that might be at 2 in the morning. You never know. Also, parents, the dads indoors riding trainers, you'll see some interesting times, usually early in the morning. But you never know, do you? But whatever the case is, keep on Zwifting out there. Keep on being positive, people. This is a great time for this community to be a haven for us. Everything crazy going on in the world, we've always got this together. That's for sure. Have I filled enough, Nathan? Are you ready to
oh
throw
yeah,
some
oh
results
yeah.
up?
We've been
Okay,
going on for a while here. I mean, we've had the result, but you were really hamming it up.
on a
So
roll.
we're good. We're good to go. All right, let's go ahead and check out these results here on the women's side of things in the A category for the Americas West Division 1A. It's going to be Velocity Vixen with 6 riders across the line, 3.6 watts per kilogram, 36.06. The ATP Racing's form in second there with also 6 riders across the line at 3.6. But you can see the organization and the times disappearing. It's still the right order there. The time, bye. We'll see you later there, times. As, let's go ahead and see if I can reload this here and get the times right. There they go. We got them. 122 and a Revo scores there at 229 back. Then in the B's there, all yours, Dave.
Thanks, Nathan. The Audi women get it done with a 37-15. Nice job, ladies. Crouch and Mount Evans in for second. Waddy Inc. Ice Cat third. Penvelo WB in fourth. And Cadence rounds out our top 5 for the B women in America's West Division 1.
And then in America's West Division 1C, Herd of Meerkats pulled it off. That was the one we were looking at. Revo Musketeers faded as the Meerkats came out hot at the end. KRTC, they ended up holding on for that third place. Faded with that competition. They were involved up front, but looks like unable to pull off the second place there, but settle for third. Fearlets there in fourth at 2.2 watts per kilogram, 3 minutes back. And Herd of Meerkats 2 round out your top 5 in the women's America's West Division 1C. There is no D category in this division. So, and the men, Hayes pulled it off there, Dave. That's not usual, Dave. That is a good day for Hayes.
This is a big one, and you can see that we've got 5 teams inside of 1 minute here. A 31:19 is a very quick time on the Rivet, Hayes. I take my cap off to you. That's one heck of a ride here today. Dirty Rascals Riot pushed them to the line, only 19 and a half seconds back. Good for second. Oh my God, they killed Kenny. In for third, Penvelo A. You know what's weird, Nathan? I miss hearing Kate Bates say that. There's something about the way she always would say, oh my God, they killed Kenny. I'm sure we'll be back with Kate soon enough, as she'll be, our people are wondering. Kate will be back next week. Penvelo A in for fourth. Alto Velo Racing Team in at fifth. It's Dirty Rascals Rampage sixth. Evo Sonic Boom at seventh. On the Rivet Rush in eighth. Dirty Rascals Stampede in for ninth. And in our America's West Division 1A men's mixed, it was Audi Creaky rounding out our top 10. Over to you, Nathan, for the B's.
In the B category for the men's mixed, America's West Division 1B on the Rivet TWSS with the 3.9 watts per kilogram, 34 minutes, just ahead by 2 seconds over the Evo Sonic Blast. What a battle there between the top 3, even with KRT Big Timbers there, 8 seconds back only. That was very close. They were watching that one right to the line. On the Rivet, Zeal Breakers with the sprint to the line. Doesn't look like it made too much of a difference, though, as there's some pretty big time gets for a sprint at least. But still, solid effort there to fourth. Dr. Wilbar there in 25 seconds back with fifth. It's going to be TFC Pickle Juice keeping the cramps away at 26. Well, not enough though. It's 1 second gap back there, but then it's going to be Tableau Hot Lunch in 7th, right behind it. Well, and 57 seconds behind the top there. And it's going to be Dirtle Rascals Believers. They're believing for 118 with that 1 second ahead of Penn Velo B1. They've got all of the right playlists there saying, let me love you on the bike there. Oh my God, killed Kenny for that 10th. They're 134 back of the 3.8 watts per kilogram.
How can you not like a team called Hot Lunch? This has been season 2. You're killing it with the names out there, everybody. Cryogen Grand Colombier taking the win here for the C's. Congratulations. Z Sun Controllable for silver. ZCD Crushers for bronze. In 4th place, it's the Dirty Rascals Padres. 5th is Dirty Rascals Grind. Z Sunspot in 6th. Lightning Velo C for 7th. Penn Velo C1 in 8th. Dirty Rascals Affogato in 9th. And on the Rivet Force rounds out our top 10 for the C-Men, America's West.
And then in the D's, good job to the Herds of Charging Coursers. You win. 44.
Got it.
44. You got it. Team Cryogen, I think, was out there as well. I am seeing. Maybe not in the results just yet. I'm not sure if they took the W. Maybe I can get something in my ears about that. But let me see if I can get a quick refresh on this. And then don't like to leave out the D's ever. As once in a while that we do get a little. And it looks like Herds of Charging. It's a very good policy. We'll see if Cryogen Mount Lemon, I'll give them a shout out. Scott Gelpy, Matthew Graham, Melanie Stevenson, Colby Christensen, they were out there hammering away. Donnie Peterson was out there as well. They were up against JM, Jeff Goetz, Matt Evans, and Dennis Fernandez. That was the 2-team battle in the D category. So shout out to you guys and gals. Great job on finishing out there. Definitely check out WTRL for the official results. I think we are not going to be able to get these in just as of yet, as we got a little bit of a snail going on that's in the midst of the things with the other things and the data.
And a potato.
Okay. So that's going to be it for us then for today in week 2. That's the first TTT. We got 3 TTTs, Dave. 3 of them this time around.
Yes. Yeah, they reduced the number of team time trials in season 2. So, yeah, only 2 more to look forward to. I think for some teams, that's a bummer. The teams that are really good at this will be missing out on a few, I guess, points that they kind of thought would have been theirs. But at the end of the day, more people were looking for scratch racing, and that's just fine, as we'll have plenty of racing to look forward to in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, lots of scratches and points racing to come up next week. All of the broadcasts are scheduled already. Make sure to head on over to the YouTube channel. Well, if you're on our YouTube channel, head over to YouTube channel. You can check all those out. Put your reminders on for those. We are going to be on the Innsbruck KOM after party. This is going to be a sufferfest, actually. This one's a tough one, that's for sure. And it's going to be exciting because there's going to be a lot of fireworks, I think, up front as well as later on. Some of the riders are going to be looking to try and take some of those points early on. You're going to see riders that are just holding off to take KOM points. I mean, this is going to be a very, very interesting change up in the way that the racers are going to race next week because of the fastest for the segment as well as first across the line that are up for points. And then on top of that, you've got just the fireworks of trying to get to the front of the race throughout the race. This is probably one of the most exciting courses I could see with this new race format that we've had.
I agree. The teams who have smart directors that are up for this challenge are going to be really pushed with strategy and tactics, that's for sure. And it might backfire on you. But a course like this will bring out next level racing, no doubt. Innsbruck after party? Oh, man.
Yeah, it's going to be quite the battle up to the top. All right, thank you everybody for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, you want notifications anytime that we go live, as well as whenever we schedule a broadcast, go ahead and hit those notification bells, hit those follow buttons, always helps the channel. And we will be back on Thursday for the TTT. I believe we're on TikTok for the WTRL TTT. That'll be an interesting course. Very flat with just a couple of bumps. It's going to be pure TT style on Thursdays. Make sure to tune in for that. As always, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Great job to all the racers. Right on.